Hey, coin collectors, it's your mate, Alex the coin hunter from Million Dollar Coins. Imagine holding a single penny in your hand that could buy you a mansion. Sounds impossible, right? Today, we're diving deep into one of the rarest and most valuable coins in the world, the 1941 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, no mint mark. By the end of this video, you'll know why collectors are willing to pay nearly $2 million for just one of these tiny pieces of history. We're going to explore the story behind this penny, how it was made, the mystery of its rarity, and why it has captured the hearts and wallets of collectors worldwide. I'll walk you through its historical context, the unique features that make it so valuable, and even share some surprising stories from people who discovered one in the most unlikely places. Stick around, because the secrets behind this coin are more fascinating than you could ever imagine. Let's start with the basics, the 1941 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, it might look like any other penny you've ever seen, small, copper-colored, and featuring the familiar profile of Lincoln. But appearances can be deceiving. In the world of coin collecting, this tiny piece of metal is nothing short of legendary. To understand its value, we have to rewind to 1941. The world was on the brink of major change. In the United States, the economy was recovering from the Great Depression, and pennies were being minted by the millions. The Lincoln wheat penny had been in circulation since 1909, a tribute to the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But in 1941, something extraordinary happened, or didn't happen. Unlike most pennies of that era, the 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark was incredibly rare. Most pennies were minted in Philadelphia, no mint mark, Denver, D, and San Francisco, S. What makes this coin so special is the limited number that survived in mint condition, which is what drives collectors to pay up to $0.9 million for a single specimen. To put that into perspective, imagine finding a regular penny on the sidewalk, but realizing it's worth more than a luxury sports car. That's the scale we're talking about. But why is it so rare? The story lies in its production and preservation. During that time, pennies were made using a process that wasn't designed for perfection. Many coins were damaged, melted down, or simply lost over the decades. Add to that the fact that collectors and investors have been hunting for these coins for generations, and you can see why the supply is almost mythical. The coin itself tells a story. Look closely at Lincoln's profile, the wheat stalks on the reverse, and the date engraved at the bottom. These details are not just decorative, they're the fingerprints of history. Each scratch, each mark tells a tale of the hands that touched it, the pockets it passed through, and the decades it survived. Holding this penny is like holding a direct connection to 1941, a time capsule from a world that feels both distant and familiar. Collectors often describe the thrill of finding a coin like this as almost spiritual. There's a famous story of a retired schoolteacher who discovered a 1941 Lincoln wheat penny in a jar of old change she'd forgotten about for years. At first, she didn't realize its value. It wasn't until a coin dealer examined it that she learned she was sitting on nearly $2 million. Moments like this are why the coin market is so captivating. It's not just about money, it's about history, luck, and discovery. Let's break down the value for a second. Why $1.9 million? There are several factors: rarity, condition, demand, and provenance. Rarity is obvious. The fewer coins that exist, the more valuable they become. Condition is critical. A coin in pristine, uncirculated condition is exponentially more valuable than one with scratches or wear. Demand drives the market. Serious collectors and investors compete fiercely for these coins. Finally, provenance, or the documented history of the coin, adds layers of authenticity and intrigue. Here's a fun analogy. Think of this penny as a vintage sports car. Sure, any car can get you from point A to B, but a classic Ferrari, maintained in perfect condition, is worth millions because of its history, design, and desirability. The 1941 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is the Ferrari of coins. Now, I want to ask you, if you found a coin like this in your own change jar, what would be your first reaction? Would you cash it in immediately or keep it as a piece of living history? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to see what you would do. But here's the kicker. Even though $1.9 million might seem astronomical, some collectors see this penny as priceless. Beyond the money, it's a connection to the past, a tangible piece of American history, and a story that you can hold in the palm of your hand. That's the magic of coin collecting. It turns something ordinary into the extraordinary. But if you think that was incredible, Wait until you see the next coin on our list, another Lincoln penny with a story even stranger and a value that will make your jaw drop. Trust me, you won't believe how rare this one really is. Imagine this, a coin that looks like any other penny in your wallet, but in reality, it holds the power to change someone's life forever. That's exactly the case with the 1935 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, no mintium. ARC, a coin that today can fetch up to $300,000. Yes, a single penny worth more than a brand new luxury car. You might be wondering, what makes this coin so special? After all, it's just another Lincoln penny, right? Well, not quite. Let's step back to 1935. The United States was still navigating the Great Depression, a time when every cent counted, when families hoarded coins like little treasures just to make ends meet. The Lincoln wheat penny had already been in circulation for over 25 years, a symbol of stability in uncertain times. But in 1935, something unusual happened. Certain pennies were minted without a mint mark in extremely limited numbers. These coins were intended for circulation, yet only a few survived the decades in collectible condition. Collectors often talk about the thrill of the hunt, and the 1935 penny is the ultimate prize. Picture walking through your grandparents' attic or rummaging through an old jar of change, only to uncover a coin with a story older than most people living today. Its value isn't just monetary, it's a portal into history, a piece of the 1930s that has traveled through countless hands, seen countless pockets, and endured the wear and tear of ordinary life. Now, think about the design for a moment. Abraham Lincoln's profile, calm and resolute, faces to the right, while on the reverse, the iconic wheat stalks cradle the words, 1 cent, like guardians of a secret. Every scratch, every slight discoloration, every subtle mark tells a story. Stories that ordinary coins simply can't tell. Holding a 1935 penny is almost like holding a miniature time machine, a tangible connection to an era of hardship, resilience, and hope. One fascinating thing about this coin is how its rarity impacts the market. A 1935 Lincoln wheat penny in circulation might be worth only a few cents, but the mint condition, no mint mark version is in a league of its own. It's like finding an original painting by a master tucked away in a thrift store. One slight difference makes it exponentially more valuable. Collectors fight tooth and nail to get their hands on these pennies, and the demand has only grown over the years. There are stories of everyday people stumbling across these coins in the most mundane places. A man in Ohio once found a 1935 Lincoln penny in a box of old coins bought at a garage sale. At first, he didn't think much of it. But when a coin dealer examined it, his heart nearly stopped. The value was staggering. That single coin instantly turned a modest collection into a life-changing treasure. Moments like these are why coin collecting is more than a hobby. It's a mix of history, luck, and curiosity. It's also a fascinating reflection of human behavior. Why do we value some coins over others? It's not just about the metal or the face value, it's the story, the rarity, the connection to a moment in time. A 1935 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, is a perfect example. Ordinary at first glance, yet extraordinary when you understand its journey, its survival against the odds, and the devoted collectors who recognize its significance. Here's a little thought experiment. If you had a chance to own a coin worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, but it meant keeping it hidden in a safe for decades, would you do it? Or would you sell it and turn that history into instant wealth? Let me know what you'd do in the comments. It's always fascinating to see the different choices people make when confronted with rare treasures like this. But the real magic of this coin is in its paradox. It's both common and incredibly rare at the same time. Millions of pennies were minted that year, yet only a select few have survived in near-perfect condition, and those are the ones that fetch such astronomical prices. It's a reminder that value isn't always obvious on the surface. Sometimes you have to look closer, understand the history, and appreciate the rarity before you see the treasure hidden in plain sight. And just when you think you've wrapped your head around the 1935 penny, prepare yourself for the next coin. Its story is even more extraordinary, with a value that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about ordinary pennies. If you thought $300,000 was shocking, wait until you see what comes next. Close your eyes and picture this. A penny, something you toss into a vending machine without a second thought, suddenly holding the power to make someone a millionaire. That's exactly the story of the 1971 Abraham Lincoln penny, no mint mark, a coin that can sell for up to $1.6 million. Now you might be scratching your head. 1971 isn't exactly ancient history, just a little over 50 years ago. How could a coin from that era be worth so much? The answer lies in its rarity and a twist of history. Most pennies minted in 1971 came from Philadelphia, marked with no mint mark, or from Denver, marked with a D, but very few of the no mint mark coins survived in perfect collectible condition, making them an absolute treasure for dedicated coin collectors. The story of this penny is as much about human error as it is about design. You see, coins are mass-produced, yet every once in a while anomalies occur, flaws in the minting process, limited runs, or accidental survival of only a handful of specimens. For the 1971 Lincoln penny, the no mint mark version in pristine condition is one of those rare anomalies. Out of millions produced, only a small fraction exists today that collectors would describe as museum quality. And that scarcity drives the price into the seven-figure range. Holding one of these pennies is like holding a whisper from history. It's a symbol of a moment in time, a tangible artifact from a world that is both familiar and distant. Abraham Lincoln's profile stares back at you, stoic and steady, while the wheat stalks on the reverse evoke a sense of simplicity and endurance. But unlike the pennies we see every day, this one has a story written into every mark, every gleam of copper. A story of rarity, survival, and the extraordinary value humans can place on the seemingly ordinary. Consider this analogy. Imagine a limited edition book printed in the thousands but only a few copies are preserved in perfect condition, untouched by time or hands. Those copies become priceless to collectors. That's exactly what happened with this penny. Its ordinary appearance belies its extraordinary market value, and its rarity makes it a crown jewel in any collection. Collectors have long shared tales of the thrill that comes with finding one of these coins. One story tells of a man who inherited a small jar of loose change from his grandfather. Inside, hidden among everyday coins, was a 1971 Lincoln penny in flawless condition. The realization hit him like a lightning bolt. He held a coin worth more than most homes in his neighborhood. That thrill of discovery, that connection to the past, is what makes coins like this so addictive to collectors. It's also fascinating to think about the psychology behind its value. On the surface, it's just a penny, copper, small, lightweight. But when you factor in rarity, condition, and collector demand, it transforms from everyday currency into a high-stakes treasure. The 1971 no mint mark Lincoln penny is a perfect example of how value is often less about intrinsic material and more about story, scarcity, and human desire. Now here's a fun question for you. If you found this penny in your own wallet, would you keep it for its history or cash it in for the million-dollar payday? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments because moments like this make you realize that even ordinary objects can hold extraordinary potential. The 1971 penny reminds us that history isn't always old. Sometimes it's just a few decades away, quietly waiting in your pocket or your coin jar to reveal its true worth. And the more you learn about these coins, the more you start seeing pennies, dimes, and nickels, not just as money, but as tiny portals to the past, each with its own hidden story. But hold on to your seat, because the next coin we're about to explore is even more staggering. Its value surpasses almost everything we've seen so far, and its story is shrouded in mystery and legend. If you thought a 1971 penny was mind-blowing, get ready. This next one will redefine what you think about coins. Picture this. A simple penny, something you might toss into a parking meter without a second thought, suddenly worth nearly $1.88 million. That's the case with the 1939 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny, no mint mark, a coin that has captivated collectors and historians alike. At first glance, it looks ordinary. Abraham Lincoln's profile on the front, the iconic wheat stalks on the back, a modest copper coin no bigger than a fingertip. But within that unassuming design lies a story of rarity, survival, and extraordinary value. The 1939 penny was minted at a time when the United States was slowly recovering from the Great Depression. Millions of pennies were produced, but only a tiny fraction survived in pristine, collectible condition. And it's those few coins, the flawless survivors, that have made this penny a treasure worth $1,880,000. So why is this particular year so valuable? It's all about scarcity and condition. While millions of 1939 pennies circulated, the no mint mark versions that remained untouched over the decades are extremely rare. Coins like this were meant for everyday transactions, but only a lucky few escaped the wear and tear of daily life. Think of it like a classic car. Thousands might have been produced. But only a handful of mint condition models exist today, driving collectors to pay astronomical sums. Holding this coin is like holding a piece of history in the palm of your hand. Every detail, the contours of Lincoln's face, the tiny lettering, the wheat stalks, tells a story about the era it was minted. It's a glimpse into 1939 America, a country cautiously optimistic, a nation on the brink of monumental global change, and everyday citizens going about their lives with pennies in their pockets. This coin is more than money, it's a time capsule. Collectors often describe the thrill of acquiring a 1939 penny as almost spiritual. There's the excitement of the hunt, the anticipation of discovery, and the joy of holding something so rare that it almost feels otherworldly. One story tells of a collector who found a 1939 penny tucked away in an old bank collection. At first, it looked like any other coin, but upon closer inspection, its flawless condition revealed it as one of the rare survivors. That moment transformed an ordinary collection into an invaluable treasure trove. The value of this coin also reflects the collector market itself. Demand is driven not just by scarcity, but by history and provenance. A coin with documented history or a fascinating backstory can command even higher prices. And the 1939 Lincoln penny, no mint mark, has both rarity and a connection to a pivotal moment in American history. Here's a simple analogy. Imagine finding an old first edition of a beloved book printed at the same time as thousands of others, but yours is in perfect condition and comes with a fascinating story. That's exactly what this penny represents in the world of numismatics. Ordinary in appearance, extraordinary in value, and almost magical in its story. I want to ask you something. If you stumbled upon a penny like this in your change jar, would you immediately realize its value, or would you just spend it on a coffee? Comment below with what you think you'd do, because coins like this are a reminder that sometimes incredible treasure hides in the most mundane places. But here's where it gets even more exciting. Just when you think the 1939 penny is the pinnacle, the next coin on our list takes rarity and value to a completely new level. If you thought $1.88 million was impressive, wait until you see what comes next. It's a coin that almost seems too valuable to exist. Now brace yourself, because this next penny takes rarity and value to a level that almost feels unreal. The 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with a D mint mark can sell for up to $1,970,000. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly $2 million for a single penny that most people would barely notice in their pocket. To understand why this coin is so extraordinary, we need to go back to 1944, in the midst of World War II. The United States was deeply involved in the war effort, and every resource was carefully allocated. Copper, the metal used for pennies, was considered a strategic material for ammunition and other military needs. This meant that the mint was experimenting with alternative metals, like steel, for some coins. But despite these changes, the 1944 penny minted in Denver, the D mint mark, was still struck in copper, and only a relatively small number survived in pristine condition. This coin isn't just rare because of its numbers, it's rare because of its historical context. Imagine a coin being produced at the same time the world was at war, when every penny mattered, when the nation's focus was on survival and victory. And yet, a few of these pennies were carefully preserved, eventually becoming a treasure that tells a story far beyond its face. Value. The 1944 D penny also has a unique allure among collectors due to its mint mark. The D signifies it was minted in Denver, and that small letter on the coin instantly increases its collectible value. Every detail, the mint mark placement, Lincoln's profile, the wheat stalks on the back, serves as a reminder of a time when coins weren't just currency, but historical artifacts. Holding this penny is like holding a bridge between the past and the present, a tangible piece of history that survived a turbulent era. One of the most fascinating aspects of the 1944 D penny is the story of its survival. Imagine a Denver penny minted in 1944, passing from hand to hand, pocket to pocket, sometimes lost, sometimes saved for decades. Each coin has its own journey, yet only the rarest examples, in perfect condition, command seven-figure sums today. There are accounts of collectors discovering one tucked away in old change jars, in collections that had been forgotten for generations, only to realize that they were holding a coin worth almost $2 million. Let's put the value into perspective. $1,970,000 could buy a luxurious home, a high-end car collection, or fund years of adventures. Yet here it sits, in the form of a tiny copper disc no bigger than a fingertip. That contrast between its size and its value is part of what makes coins like the 1944 penny so mesmerizing. It's a reminder that sometimes incredible wealth can hide in the most ordinary-looking objects. Here's a little analogy. Think of this penny as the rarest card in a collectible trading card game. While thousands of common cards exist, only a select few are mint-condition rarities that collectors will go to extreme lengths to acquire. The 1944 penny occupies that elite space in the world of numismatics, small, unassuming, yet immensely powerful in value. Now, I want you to imagine holding this coin in your hand. The weight of history, the rarity, the almost unbelievable value. It's a moment that changes the way you think about pennies forever. And here's a question for you. If you discovered this coin in your collection, would you sell it immediately or treasure it as a piece of history? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I promise this is a debate that collectors love having. But before we wrap up, here's the thing. As incredible as the 1944 penny is, there's always another coin out there, another story waiting to be told, another treasure hiding in plain sight. Coins like this remind us that history is alive, waiting to be discovered by anyone willing to look closely enough. And if you thought $1.97 million was the peak, just wait for our next video, where we'll reveal an even more mind-blowing coin, one that takes rarity, history, and value to a level that seems almost impossible. And now, for the grand finale. The coin that ties all of this incredible history together, the one that truly makes collectors' hearts race. While each of the pennies we've explored today is worth hundreds of thousands, even millions, there's always one that stands above the rest. Not just for its value, but for the story it carries. These coins are more than currency. They're almost like little time machines, carrying the spirit of the era in which they were minted. Imagine holding one of these rare Lincoln pennies in your hand. The weight of history presses lightly on your palm. Why? You can almost feel the hands of the past, people who carried it, saved it, perhaps even forgot it in a jar of loose change. Each coin survived by chance, almost like fate had a hand in preserving it for the future. And that's what makes these pennies so fascinating. They're small, unassuming objects that contain the mysteries of decades, sometimes even a century, of American life. But here's the secret tip most people don't know. The value isn't just in the mint mark or the year. Condition, provenance, and even tiny anomalies, minute details that the untrained eye might overlook, can turn a regular penny into a collector's dream worth millions. That's why serious collectors spend years studying, hunting, and preserving coins. They know that sometimes the difference between a few dollars and $1 million treasure is almost invisible to the casual observer. So here's a challenge for you. Next time you dig through old jars of coins, don't just toss them in a drawer. Look closely. Examine the details. You might be surprised what you find. A penny might look ordinary, but hidden within it could be a story that changes everything. And while we've uncovered some truly mind-blowing coins today, this is only the beginning. In our next video, we're going even deeper into the world of rare coins. We'll reveal a coin so rare, so valuable, that it almost seems too incredible to exist. A coin that collectors have hunted for decades, with a price tag that will make your jaw drop. You won't want to miss it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because the journey doesn't end here. The world of rare coins is full of secrets, surprises, and treasures waiting to be discovered. And the next one is going to be legendary.